Some of my earliest experiences of understanding negative energy was being bullied, actually, as a little girl. And I know what it feels to be isolated and picked on by boys and girls. And it was interesting because I got to experience what the Mean Girls movie was kind of like in elementary school. And I didn't know too much later that sometimes the way kids behave is how their parents behave. And there's different imprints that happen in family dynamics. But I started to understand the way negativity felt, and it made me kind of like shy from the world. And sometimes I wanted to like hide from people because of negative energy. And my experience of negative energy is like there's two main things that happen to make someone negative. One, you're hurt by people. Or two, you're hurt by circumstances. And in doing so, usually when a negative person, they adhere to those experiences and sometimes become victimized and then blame other people or blame the circumstance. And that is the toroidal of what I experience as a negative person. Because usually, if you find yourself around a negative person, it's really hard to be around the energy without feeling like, A, you need to protect yourself, B, you need to deflect it, or C, you need to try to save or rescue them from something that has just got them in a swamp. And, you know, as far as how to become more positive, one of the main things you have to do is start to hone in on what it is that feels good to you that helps your mindset change. Because one of the most important things to understand is, or you can either be kind of the victim or the villain in your story, and other people can become the villain or victim in their own story. And the way that you interact with stories is how things either expand, become more positive, or downward spiral and become more negative. I've seen this happen in a lot of relationships, especially romantic ones, where if there's a lot of disagreements or a lot of fighting, there's a lot of negative energy. And that can happen inside yourself. If you're fighting with yourself, if you're adversary with yourself, that can create a lot of negative energy. And it can feel really toxic. So how do you become a positive person? It's all about mindset and state set. So one of the things I'll talk about is being around negative energy can imprint you. It's like literally you've got a stamp, and if someone's really negative or someone insults you or someone judges you, it's like it wants to imprint on you, and especially if you're empathic, it can really affect your energy and your state set for the day, for days, for weeks. If it's someone close to you and you don't know how to actually brush the energy off, it can actually start to affect how you feel about yourself for a longer period of time. So sometimes when we're younger, also we carry these imprints without realizing it. And that's one of the things I really believe in, is how we can slough off the imprints that other people have put on us, because then there's a connection to almost like some negative energy. So here's an example. I felt like I was being, I guess you could say, internet bullied. Some content, sometimes I get some negative things when some of my music video stuff goes viral, and it's easy for people to project and say certain things onto you, about you. And what that can do is it can pull you down and make you feel negative, or make you feel like you're in a state of reaction, or you need to defend yourself. And for the particular category of feeling negative energy from other people trying to almost imprint that on you, whether it's conscious or unconscious, one of the most important things is to learn how to become more unfuckable with. You could say it's like a water off like a duck's back. Now, how do you do that? It's not easy. I'm still in the quest and the journey of how to not care about what people say about me and what people think about me, because it does hurt. I have a big heart. And one of the things you're going to have to learn how to get rid of to really hold a positive mindset is stop being a people pleaser. For a lot of my life, I wanted to be peaceful, be a peacekeeper. But in turn, if there was negative stuff, I would just kind of like tolerate it and take it. In turn, what you're doing is you're enabling this behavior. So one, how to become unfuckable with, it's a perspective shift. Because if you see someone come at you really hard and try to project their own stuff, because they don't realize they're doing that. They just see something, and for some reason, whether it's their father, the way their father treated them, the way their mother didn't love them, the way their brother bullied them, the way their sister was absent, the way that one relationship fell apart, whatever it is that imprinted that person, they're actually responding to you, and you, unfortunately, are triggering something that makes them persecute you or judge you based off of their past imprints and their past experience. When I've come to realize that when someone is being a shit and they're saying something mean, that it's not always about you, it actually helps you kind of deflect the energy. I'm like, oh wait, it's as personal as this feels, it's actually not about me. If you can gain and expand your perspective to realize that sometimes you're just someone's trigger, but that is not your truth. And to learn how to be unfuckable with is, number one, really hold the perspective that when someone, especially if it's irrational, and sometimes the most irrational stuff can hurt the most because you feel so unseen and so prosecuted for something that's so wrong. But the truth is, when you start to feel more embodied in your truth and your light and your inner knowing, the less it'll bother you. So this one woman online, I had this handstand video, and I was just making a joke because I actually want to get better handstands. I was like, practicing to be in the circus, ha ha ha. And there was a lot of comments, but this one person said, yeah, practicing to be a total whore. And what's interesting is that because I have healed so much of my sexual distortion, feeling misaligned, feeling shame around being sexy, feeling shame around being a woman, feeling shame around my sexuality, I've done a lot of inner work for that. When I saw that, I just thought that is so interesting that she would say that. Because if you're saying something about someone that's completely irrelevant, then it doesn't hit you. And when you learn that a big part of the journey is like gaining more inner fortitude, especially if you're sensitive, and especially if you just want the world to be peaceful and everyone to get along. But that's a part of being unfuckable with, is learning how to feel so connected to your truth that when someone else is trying to project their truth or their story or their judgment onto you, yes, sometimes it can hurt a little bit, but don't let it sway you to then feel the negative energy, and then it's fucked up your day, and now you're feeling toxic and you're in a negative cesspool. Because you know, what's interesting about that is like, one of the ways to reframe someone else's cruelty is to realize that it's truly an imprint of their conditioning and their story. And that's their work to do. And your work to do is to realize it is their pain and it is their conditioning, and it's not yours. So this is one of the times it's really healthy to disassociate from what is yours and what is theirs. And that comes the second thing. How to become codes of a positive mindset has to do with boundaries. Sometimes it's easy to take in energy from circumstances or people and really let it affect you. Life can feel very porous and everything has energy. But in a moment of someone having an energy that is not yours and it's trying to hurt you, because unfortunately sometimes things like that happen, or there's a circumstance when work has gone to shit, there's a bunch of messy things. The best thing that you can do for yourself is create some kind of healthy boundary where you choose, this is my energy, and I'm choosing for you not to pulverize mine, whether it's the circumstance or the words or the meaning of the energy. And truth is, for you to have a healthy world, a healthy mindset, if there are circumstances or there are people that are close to you that have such deep, strong conditioning, imprints toxic words, toxic behaviors, and you are choosing, you want truly to be a positive person, unfortunately / truthfully, you might have to redesign those circumstances around you. Because if those people say you have someone at work and they're just like heavy, 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 and you have to work with them and you feel like you don't have a choice, but it's affecting your state, it's affecting your energy, and especially, once again, if you're empathic, it's draining your system. Then everything in your life is becoming drained. It's dimming your light. It means you actually really need to redesign the way you're relating to work, whether it's you need to be in a different department or you need to actually switch the place that you work. It's actually that important. If you're in some kind of relationship with somebody, and regardless of how close the proximity is, I have been in some toxic relationships where I'm surprised the amount that I tolerated misbehavior and yelling, even being thrown up against a concrete wall more than once by someone that I was in like this deep relationship with. I tolerated things because I hadn't had the fortitude of self-worth, and my boundaries were all smush because I didn't realize where that person's conditioning and his trauma and his imprints, where they were like impacting and affecting me and making me feel negative. I didn't have my, we'll call it a golden bubble of energy, my fortitude of like, no, actually, this is where your energy and my energy draw a line. I'm not going to take that on. For a long time, there was a period of time that really traumatized me with my dad. And because he was struggling with a lot of scarcity and struggling with money and struggling with career, and things were messy and juggling a lot. And I have so much compassion for that phase of his life. But I didn't know how to stand up for myself. I didn't know how to create boundaries. And I actually became almost like a vibrational match to receiving this type of energy from the masculine. It took me some inner work to realize I had an imprint that was also somehow a match to that imprint where I was receiving this energy. And I had to realize, wow, it's actually a healthy thing for yourself, for your friendships, for your ecosystem, for your world, to have a healthy yes and a healthy no. And if someone or an environment cannot meet you in a healthy place where you're like, this is actually not going to work for me, this type of communication, this is where I'd like to be. If you can meet me in this, then we can continue to evolve together. But if not, I think that things will need to shift. And depending on someone's response, and because I have offered responses like that, depending on how they respond, if they're willing to like meet you empathically and with emotion and apology, maybe there's places to grow. But if they just fight back, the way that someone responds to you asking for more kindness and more positivity and more goodness, that's a telltale sign as to whether they can actually evolve with you. Because what this is about is not just being a positive person. It is helping you release the things that are toxic around you and realize that part of it is like you deserve to have healthy, secure, loving boundaries. And if people or circumstances can't actually meet you in the kindness and compassion and goodness, they don't deserve to be in your field. And if you hold that light and you hold your preferences and you speak them with love and kindness and certainty, truth is, it's polarizing enough that those things will fall off. It's kind of the natural state of polarity. So one of the things I like to visually imagine is that you are a satellite and you are constantly sending and receiving signals out to the world. And the more that you can also be attuned to whether or not you are consciously or unconsciously sending out signals of negativity or positivity, the faster you can become aware of that is the faster you can continuously attune to live a more positive life. So I'll give you an example. So years ago, when I was dealing with a lot of my health stuff, on a regular basis, maybe I'd be like, oh, I don't know if that food is going to upset me, or oh, I don't like this. I don't like this. I don't like this. And what's interesting is when it comes in terms of like clarifying and manifesting, you're one of the like manifesting 101s is be sure to know that whatever you're saying and whatever you're thinking is actually what you're magnetizing and you're energizing. So if you're saying, even if you're you want to be a positive person and overall you're a good person. If you're saying things in your head that's like, I hate that, or I don't like that, or that's like, like, or you're in a relationship and you're like, and you're feeling a lot of this negative energy, it's actually starting to amplify in your state, actually starting to maybe even magnetize more. You're like becoming more and more aware of this negative thing that you don't like unless you find a healthy way to speak about it or communicate it or rewrite it. And that's part of the other manifestation 101 is that the contrast of something that you don't like, that might feel negative, that might feel toxic, that might feel healthy, either you need to change the person or the circumstance in your environment. Change it. Because you have the power to do that. And I'm here to tell you, even when things feel like you can't leave, you can't change, you have the power to make that change. If you can't change the external environment immediately, what you can do is to support yourself to work on the internal landscape. And I call this spiritual interior designing. And this is where you can make it fun. But like, if your environment is not what you want and there's like maybe you have a negative roommate or something, if you keep feeling it and thinking it, then you continue to imprint yourself and you continue to make it bigger. And apparently what the universe responds to is what the signals are. It's kind of like they say, it doesn't matter if you say, I want $10. If you're like, I want $10, I really want $10, I want $10, versus I want $1,000, I want $1,000. If you're amplifying the same amount of passion, even if it's negative or positive, there is a magnetic pull to that very thing. Doesn't matter quantifiably the size, it's the output of energy. So if there's something that you don't like that feels negative, I believe that sometimes when it's family stuff, it's not like you can just like leave your family, right? There's a way to support redesigning and remapping, and that's through the practice of like even writing, for example. Say that there's a challenge with, a sibling. And you're like, and then you start writing out positive things and how you want to feel, and that there's spaciousness and there's respect, and you're so grateful for the way it feels this way. And there's so much respect in this space. It feels easy to communicate your feelings. It feels so nice. And this is something I've done, is get in a practice of like writing. It feels so nice. Oh, it's so easy to be around this person. Writing the preferences of the feelings, especially if it just feels like it's heavy, it's negative, and also creating healthy space for yourself. Because one of the things that I came to realize is like when you are sacrificing your sense of happiness, peace, and harmony, whatever it is, for other people, you're accidentally being a martyr. And the martyr is when you're just like of sacrifice for the sake of others. But unfortunately, what happens when you do that is you're draining your tank, you're draining your battery, and then they're getting your drained tank in your drained battery. They're not even getting the best of you. You're not even getting the best of you. So what I've learned to do is like find space for yourself. Find space for your clarity. Find space for you to write out if there's a circumstance or people. You deserve to clarify your preferences and write how it feels and kind of redesign that experience. There's another really important aspect to this too, which is you got to relinquish the blame. I have struggled with this in my life because I also have felt really hurt by the things people have done to me, relationships, some family stuff, feeling bullied at times. It's their fault. It's their fault. And one of the best ways to shift blame is to like remember that part of what's happening, regardless of who they are to you, is they're responding and reacting from their conditioning, their belief systems, their patterns, their traumas. So you don't need to blame that person. You're just going to make that person or that thing a bad thing, but make it the villain. And then if you make someone the villain, you become the victim. And then you're going to play out the cycle where then poor me, poor me. I have had some poor me's in my life. But unfortunately, then it almost continues to cycle that loop. And we want to get all the victimization out so you can stand in your power, have clarity of your energy, have clarity of your thoughts, and support redesigning the map of what you want it to feel. Safe, secure, your bubble, you deserve to be positive. So there's this visualization that I had the other day, which I actually really liked, which is imagine your heart is a light and you're in a dark room, okay? And there's nothing in that room. When you have that one single dark flickering candle or that light candle, it actually illuminates the whole room unless there's anything obstructing it. So let's just imagine that's everyone's heart in the world. Just got this light. Well, what happens to most people when we turn 5, turn 7, that happens. We're hurt there. We weren't loved. We were abandoned. Maybe we were beaten. We were scarcity of money and then scarcity of love and unrequited love. We were broken up with and our hearts hurt. And next thing you know, there's all these obstructions. So imagine you're in a room and you got your light and then there's that story of what that person did to you in a breakup. Now that becomes an obstruction of light and it's like just a big blob of furniture. And then that thing that maybe your parents did, that's another obstruction. Next thing you know, the imprints of what these people did to you that you can blame them for, that have now made them the villain, it's making all of these, cascading these shadows, and no longer your light is fully illuminating the space. That's kind of the way that I've been able to witness my own heart at times. If I feel like there's blockades, like I don't know if I trust, there's been times I didn't know if I fully trusted the masculine, that the masculine could ever evolve to meet me in my own beauty, in my own power, in my own freedom, in my own love. And part of the reason I developed some of that mistrust was because of my past experiences and the fact that it imprinted me, and then it was creating shadows on my heart and shadows around me. And so usually, if you meet someone that's incredibly negative and they're just talking about the things that hurt them, and it's just like it's a repeat, they're on a broken record, and then they're maybe being mean to you, whatever it is, just think of the light of their heart has been obstructed by all of these things that have happened, and they can't even see the room. They've lost touch with their space. And sometimes that's the painful thing with being around people that have lost touch with their energy, is they don't realize all those things are consuming the light. And it's developed their character because now their light is like molding around all those things. And so one of the gifts of understanding that and becoming aware of what is obstructing the light of your heart is you can start liberating yourself from that and choosing more positively. And if other people and other circumstances, it's adding to the obstruction of your light illuminating and you feeling full of love and your brilliance and your femininity, just know those are shadows that could be cascading on you, and you don't deserve that. And we're here to all figure out ways to harmonize ourselves and be in our fullest radiance as women, because you deserve to feel beautiful and sensuous and magnetic and full of light, really, truly. And one of the other things is compassion. Compassion for people is not always the easiest if there's negative things happening. And like, even if there's work, there's still people involved. So my experience with negativity has a lot to do with my relationship to other humans and other people. And so gaining from that perspective and then gaining the compassion for where people have been at, like, man, that person is so mean, whether it's online or wow, that's like they must have been through so much in their life that they can't even see how they hurt others. That they must have so much pain that they want seen, that now they're darting it out and projecting it on other people and not realizing they're just repeating the cycle. And that's a part of what it is to awaken, is you kind of stop the cycles through the awareness of it and then shifting it. And that's what I believe transformational magic from feeling negative energy from others to continuously choosing how to be positive. Because what does positivity feel like? And what does it feel like? Feels easy, feels uplifted, feels hopeful, feels inspiring, and feels good. And so anything on the other side that doesn't make you feel that is worth redesigning.